is still hunched over the railing, her head swaying to the music, her eyes looking at nothing in particular.
Huh? What is it? What do you want? Did you just call me a lady, Herife?
She clearly doesn't think she's a lady. Don't repeat it.
I'm not that either, Herife. I've gone too far from it all to remember what was between my legs. It doesn't work like that on the long haul. I'm only terrifying to small children and to those who used to know me. How should I know? Do I look like I spend a lot of time with the other communers sniffing around when I have my movies to go to? Because they can no longer recognize the person I once was. The big ones, the trucks. There's no women and men there, it's all just... In the middle of this town, there's a ghostly motorway. It takes all the people where they want to stay.
You feel very cold suddenly, as if standing face to face with a terrifying adversary. Then the feeling dissipates and all you see is an aging woman. In the background, a quiet song seeps from her cabin into the air. You don't hear any vocals.
Oh, Sim.
Something in her is pulling towards some unknown rest state. She twitches like a sleep kick.
Shame on you!
Hola, Wandering Man. How can I help you? Yeah, the janitor who gave me the key to his apartment said the guy's a bit of an asshole. Like I said before, I don't know much about this weasel, but the bossman said he's a real piece of work. Thanks for helping out, Frank.
Looking for something, Ront? Come to tell me to fuck off again?
You could push him by asking him to show you the soles of his boots. He definitely looks like someone capable of a lynching.
Been admiring the stompers, Ront? For sure, I can demonstrate them.
On the bottom of the man's boots, you see an intricate tangle of threads with no immediately discernible pattern. The wind howls over the Bay of Revachol, a cascade of cold air flowing through the city streets. Those same streets have left their share of scuff marks on the underside of your green snakeskin shoes.
It sure is. Custom made. Cost me a pretty penny. You'll see when the time comes, officer. True patriots carry Revachol in their very souls.
Technically, you're stomping on Revachol every step you take.
Huh. I know you people don't understand poetry. I don't know what you're talking about. He did something. He stole his employer's goods and another lorryman's job. You should be thankful for the tip.
He's been expecting this. He's really puffed himself up.
Listen up, fuckwits. You don't scare me. You cops don't run Revachol West. You don't run Martinez. You don't run anything.
No, he means la puta madre.
A legendary, and not in a good way, crime boss from Jamrock controls what is probably the most powerful organized crime outfit in Revachol. Looks like the lieutenant has a plan. Let him do this.
Yeah, him.
Then I presume you are familiar with his peonies.
Yeah, they're his little bitches. He's got them all over the unions.
Not just the unions. He has peonies everywhere. Some say he even has them in the RCM. Dirty fucking peonies who'd do anything for him. Multi-ethnic drug addicts.
You're not peonies. You wouldn't be investigating a drug thing if you were.
No, of course not. We are not peonies. But if we were, and one of Madre's drivers were to be stealing from him, then it's a good peony's job to find out who that is. It's not a hard job. It won't take a long time. It won't make Padre Madre angry. But a stupid fucking racist is standing in the way, protecting this fucking thief.
I'm not scared of you or the mob. I'm under the protection of the Lorrymen and Carters Guild.
You've seen that corpse in the ceramic armor there. Did his shitty little guild protect him?
Nah, you wouldn't just leave him out there if you...
The lieutenant turns and gives you a barely perceptible nod. I softened him up as best I could. Now it's on you to finish the job. Be careful. This man's still got some fight in him by the looks of it. It won't be easy to break him.
Looking for something odd? Come to tell me to fuck off again?
Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio microphone.
This is Precinct 57. How may I assist you? 57's over.
In the cabin, you see a... rotting man lies on his side with his eyes looking straight through you. His body is... The lieutenant adjusts his glasses and takes a deep breath. The dead man stares in silence as you crack open the ledger. The bright red paper is covered in boxes and lists, describing the condition of his skin and organs in 3 parts. Above those, an 11-field info form needs filling out first. It begins with:
That's you.
The corpse is indifferent to your scribblings, just lies there. The next box says
KK57 dash.
KK equals Kim Kitsuragi. 57 equals Precinct 57, followed by his date 0803 and time of arrival 0815 on the scene.
And what would that make the alphanumeric?
HDB 41 0803. Help me out with the time of day, anyone? Let's say 1300. A good time to start drinking. 1111. It's meaningful.
Good. Let's go with that. NA. Next. NA. Roughly 50.
Try 40. The damage is so extensive, it's better to err on the young side. He nods.
Mondial.
Fair to olive-skinned, from the Isola of Mwindi. This is as vague as it gets. You might as well say whitish. The pudgy mess of curdled meat looks neither mondial nor anything other.
Fucky!
Male.
Pigs can have sex!
Nor does he look male, with his pregnant belly and indistinguishable face.
We're still going with March 4th, 51. What else? 9. Body identified by is non-applicable. 10. Case number is the same as the coroner's case.
HDB 41 0803 listens, motionless, with the cargo belt still around his neck.
None. At least not after the initial examination. Interfering with the body's position or wounds post-mortem.
How did you not know that? Aren't you a cop? You're leaving a weak impression here. Say something, don't overdo it. It's okay to be unsure.
They'd have to have incapacitated and carried him over. This man was more than a match for untrained dogwalkers.
Your central nervous system recognizes this gesture. It's the stations of the breath. Ecclesiastic, religious in nature, a holdout from pre-DeLorean burial rites. It takes him 2 seconds to perform. Then, somewhere in Jamrock North, a small wood shed behind Rosencrantz Row, Lieutenant Nick Feuerbat puts his hand to the chest of a small corpse, no larger than a monkey. It's raining outside, like elsewhere yet. An obese female sits in a wicker chair, her silhouette bull-like against the window. Outside, Grand Coudon. The day is turning dim for Sergeant Matt Dawson. Hand extended, he approaches, to make sure she is dead more than anything else. The building is tall, 7 stories wind-wrapped in solitude. Most of the apartments are unoccupied. This was a suicide, the other an accident, the small one. And so, all across Jamrock, Coal City, GRIH, 42 deceased persons found today, 42 stationed.
We should start the post-mortem.
The corpse cannot feel Kim's hand on his chest. It no longer meaningfully interacts with its surroundings. A thicket of boxes and lists on red copier paper tries to answer why.
Clothes. The deceased wears armored boots and white briefs. The make of the briefs is Babrodine, I think. Let's see.
See, it's happening.
Babrodine, yes. Inexpensive. Size.
The disappointment is palpable. The red-haired thing was expecting something more.
The rest of the clothes have been removed post-mortem by scavengers in order to get to the victim's ceramic armor. Officers are in search of the missing pieces. Removal of the boots is left for processing.
It would be clever of you to omit the boots altogether, sire. If you are to keep them for yourself, as you ought to, you have deserved them more than anyone else. Patience. After the autopsy, before the body is taken away, there will be a window of opportunity. After the lieutenant has gone to sleep, I hope this has helped you, my liege.
The boot has a serial number. It's E50.100.100. The lines between the plates are in the shape of the alphanumerical. The number is purposeful. Tattoos. The upper torso is covered in a single continuous tattoo, resembling a map of the night sky. It reaches from the right shoulder to the heart. The ink is blue and white. The assistant has a color photograph of the markings, to be added to the case files as document A1. The photo is taken on the scene, using a Trigat Mini. The deceased has a cargo lashing belt around his neck, tied with a hangman's knot. Color yellow. Length 3 meters. There is a buckle on the other end. Well-nourished, athletically built, measuring 1.8 meters. Generally consistent with age 42. Preservation is good. Ambient temperature below freezing. Body hair is light brown. Distribution is consistent with age. The deceased had male pattern baldness. Hair is combed back, short. Lividity is consistent with hanging. The head is congested. Contusions are present on the head, chest, and thighs. Consistent with stones thrown post-mortem. Low velocity.
Fucking low velocity? You think Kuno doesn't know what you're talking about? Velocity was fucking max. Talking shit about Kuno's velocity.
In addition, there are bite marks on the face, scalp, and chest. Consistent with predation. Ligature mark. The steel wiring. There's too much of it. We need to remove the bell so we can get to the ligature mark.
You got just the right tool for that. The chain cutters. The hanged man lets out a joyous little bubble of rot from his nose.
Always good to think ahead. Now, we need to cut the belt to see the ligature mark below. Carefully.
See, my pig is gonna fuck his head off.
No, he ain't. Your pig's a boring fuck.
The belt is equally tight around the whole circumference of his neck, swelling over the edges like white bread rising from the east. After some deliberation, you sink the cutters into the knot tying the belt together. You squeeze the rubber handles together, sweat forming on your brow. Snap! The knot is slashed. Another cut and the belt falls apart like a flower bouquet, revealing the dead man's neck and the dark red ligature mark around.
The rope rises to a point, leaving a gap in the ligature mark. The suspension point is in the back of the neck. Hemorrhaging is observed on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. The mark is well pronounced, consistent with a drop from 1 or 1.5 meters. Chest is intact, normal contour, abdomen is protuberant, pelvis intact, genitalia...
No! It's get up and see!
I fucking knew it!
Genitalia is male and unremarkable. No evidence of injury. Back is symmetrical and intact. Upper and lower extremities are intact, but asymmetrical. There are combat injuries on the right hand, thigh, and hip. In addition, I see smaller, residual scars, too numerous to count, covering about 30% of his skin.
From wounds sustained over 2, maybe more decades, dispersal and accumulation indicates long and active combat duty.
We have a real museum here. But last item, hands. Hands are clean. No sign of a recent struggle. I was. Maybe I'm just not seeing them. Honestly, this stench is making it hard for me to think at the moment. Ooh. That's all for the external. Well done. What next? Central nervous system. I have nothing. Do you have anything on this man's central nervous system?
Of course, there is a moral to be drawn from it. A moral to this story.
What would that be?
The dead man looks, too, with barely contained excitement to hear the moral of his story.
I think that may well be the moral of every story, officer. Good. Musculoskeletal. Purge fluid is coming from the mouth. Not injury related. Eyes and tongue protuberant. Hyoid bone. Let's see.
With his eyes almost closed, the lieutenant puts his hand on the dead man's throat and begins to massage it, gently. A rotting smell erupts from the mouth. Purge fluid runs down his lips.
Yeah, jack that fucker off!
The hyoid bone is fractured. The rest of the musculoskeletal system is intact. Unremarkable. Respiratory system. Oral cavity shows no lesions. The victim has received dental implants, possibly after a combat wound. Mouth swollen. Hemorrhaging present in mucosa of the lips and mouth. Hepatobiliary, NA. Are you a hepatobiliary expert? Same for toxicology and serology, NA. Cardiovascular. The body exhibits heavy lividity. Blood has gathered in the hands, feet, and neck. Hypostasis is visually consistent with the hanging. Gastrointestinal.
This will do.
Digested semi-solid food in stomach. Voila. What's next on the list? Let's see. We have bite marks, contusions on the head and chest, and a ligature mark encircling the neck. You'll need 3 fields. Leave a 4th one too. Nothing, just in case. Head, chest and scalp bite mark injuries. Predation by birds has caused damage to the body. Odontologist does not need to be consulted. And your opinion, officer? Agreed. Next injury? So, the scalp bleeds from a post-mortem head injury, a stone. The injury does not have the rim of an early inflammatory response. The perpetrator on the scene has confessed to causing it post-mortem.
At maximum velocity, fucko!
Has confessed to causing it at maximum velocity.
Coagulated blood sticks to his scalp and chest, where the countless stones have hit the dead man. Beneath, the description of injury. 2 boxes.
No, it's not.
Fucking fail as shit, Sailman!
Bitch saying your injuries weren't fatal, Kuno. You gonna let it stand?
I do what I want, see? Learn it.
Right. Next. A dark red abraded ligature mark encircling the neck, with a gap on the nape measuring, let's say, 7 centimeters. The hyoid bone is fractured, the cervical column intact. I see hemorrhaging on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. Depth of the mark, 1 centimeter.
Below the note, 2 customary boxes wait to be ticked. The man's head jerks to the side. The ring around his neck is visible.
Why do you say that? Is it like that fatal stone injury, or are you serious? Did you? I'm not so sure. I thought we could establish the cause of death here, officer. Now I think we should leave it empty. At least for the time being. If we don't like it, I can always amend this later, in my paperwork. Let's wrap this up. I pronounce this field autopsy over. It was an irregular field autopsy. We did not establish cause of death, which is supposed to be the goal of an autopsy. But, personally, I do not see this as a parameter for success. We were thorough with the list of injuries too. We described them all in detail. What is there to say? Given the circumstances, it was...
Oh yeah, well done, Master Detective. Maybe a drink is in order?
Now, you see, that worries me. You will die if you drink. You know that, don't you? You are proving a useful detective. The organization would miss you.
Please get yourself together. the lieutenant from Precinct 57 thinks.
I need a copy of that autopsy form. Then I will drive him to Faubourg. For processing.
You tilt your head, also looking at the corpse. I'm sure we didn't get everything. There's always something. The fish lips stay silent in response. You must be losing your mind, asking him that.
I told you, he is male, 40 to 50, with an athletic build.
You run your hands over the victim's cold body, his limbs, his torso with its swollen organs. Maybe you should be more thorough. His fingernails have turned dark. They're chipped and quite long.
Do you think we missed something?
You can't shake the feeling that there are more secrets concealed in the flesh before you.
Okay, well, we are in livor mortis here. He is disintegrating. We need to refrigerate the body if we want to conduct another examination, and we need to do it fast. If you want for this task to slowly become impossible, then yes. Otherwise, no. He's been hanging out far too long already. We need to ice him.
Not to mention the damage that would be dealt to the force's reputation by the corpse just rotting here like this.
Hey, wasn't there a giant ice bear sarcophagus below that building?
Why, yes there was. It was massive. Red eyes glowing in the dark.
Now, that's an overstatement. It's not actually 4 stirring cadavers, or at least I hope so. I think we should take a look at it first. Make sure it's big enough before we carry him over. Let's move. With every hour, whatever we are looking for in the deceased will become harder to find.
Both cables are unplugged from the breaker box. Somewhere, a machine hums along with the current, happy and contented. Somewhere in the dark, a giant electrical... This orange machine is turning the crank feels oddly satisfying, like stirring your... It's all gone now. You'll never become a... What better to assuage the creeping sense of failure than some frozen fat and sugar? The bear's eyes are still glowing red, watching over all the ice cream wrappers hidden inside.
It's certainly an eccentric choice, but it is capacious and cold enough too.
But the optics on this are awful, he thinks. We need to be as silent as we can. Your visual confirms you could fit 2 more bodies in the ice bear fridge.
Shall we go and get the body then? I'll take the head, you take the feet. The stairs won't be easy, but we'll manage.
The body is heavy and stinky. It takes half an hour to get it down to the basement. Then 10 more minutes to stuff it into the fridge. The lieutenant takes a step back to admire your handiwork.
Beautiful. A dead body in a nice bare fridge. This is some of the best police work I've ever done. No, not really. Look at that. What have we done? We stuffed a dead body in a nice bare fridge. This story does not leave this room.
He means it. He doesn't want to be the ice bear cop.
If I were an artist, this would certainly not be my vision. I would be much, much more conservative in my work.
He's right. His work would be much more formal.
At least we've stopped the body from decomposing further. Now you can conduct another inspection under controlled circumstances.
Inside the icy realm of the ice bear fridge, the corpse stands slumped, waiting. You touch the dead man's body.
It'll come to you sooner or later. At least he's safe here until then.
A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it pitch black. A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it. Something breaks loose in you. A mighty bellow echoes throughout the chimney's depths.
Hello?
You've awakened the entity.
Hello? Did you say anything? I can't hear you. Please come upstairs. There's a safety curtain on the 2nd floor. I'll open it.
You hear a low rumble upstairs, the sound of a curtain being pulled aside.
After you, officer.
Hello, I'm Nia. Did you try knocking on my window? I must have missed you. I've been listening to my Milius. So what kind of die are you looking for?
Could this be the malicious entity? Perhaps it's wise to go along with this masquerade. She's got a direct view to the backyard. You should interrogate her about the lynching.
Yes, Amelie is like a call-in station. You need a two-way radio to access one. That's why I have these. Mostly, they just teach you to swear in different languages. But some of the stations can be quite interesting. I was so absorbed, I must have missed you knocking. I'm a novelty dice maker. Tell me the name of your role-playing system and I'll make the die you need. That's why you're here, yes?
As she speaks, her bone-like fingers fiddle with a ring. Her bones light, but her hands strong. Role-playing games? You know the one made by Fortress Accident. Does that count?
Very good. My rate is 10 real per set, unless you want something really unusual. Take a look around and see if there's any particular stone you want to use.
It almost looks as if the stones and dice are a natural part of the room, growing out of the shells like stalagmites.
How did I become one? It was a business decision. I was a regular jeweler at first, but that's an unfocused field with too much competition. Some of my friends were role players. They asked me to make some polyhedral dice out of cobalt. That was my first order. I grew it from there. Not especially. I like working with rare materials and a steady pay. And role players as customers? They're nice people. Nothing really. I didn't know him.
Who cares about the dead body? We might be dealing with a malignant entity here. The lieutenant looks at his notebook. Then the woman under the large window.
Your window looks directly onto the courtyard. You're saying you didn't see or hear anything unusual last Sunday evening?
I'm sorry, detective, but as you know, I usually have my headphones on when I'm working. It shuts out most of the daily ruckus behind my window. Well, there's always something going on in the Whirling's backyard. During daytime, there are usually those kids. And lately, I've been seeing a lot of drunk workers hanging about. But I never saw anyone during that fateful Sunday night, I'm afraid. It's an odd profession, making dice for people, but I like it, and I prefer doing this to sitting at home. I might have, but in this case, all I would have seen is my own reflection staring back from the darkness. It's really hard to make anything out in the yard when it's dark outside. Besides, I rarely get up to look out the window when I'm in the zone.
She nods.
Anything else, officer? Of course. Tell me what you have in mind. Ah, yes. Fortress accident. It's too bad they never finished their game. The Wiro Untethered die is a variation of a standard role-playing die, only instead of plants it uses motifs of ice and death, and loss of course.
Ice, death, loss. Sounds like you.
I'm thinking something made from alligator jawbone, cast in black resin. The reptile bone is as white as ice and dead as, well, death. For 7 real, I could have it ready in 8 hours. It's an icosy tetrahedron, a 24-sided die that can produce results for 2-sided, 3-sided, 4-sided, 6-sided, and 12-sided die with a single roll. Technically, you can also use it for many other sizes, but you may need to reroll results.
Loving it. So nifty.
Untreated bone is porous and prone to chipping. Cast it in something hard like resin though, and voila, it's perfect. Maybe you have some other ideas for dice? What do you mean by cursed? Alright, how about I surprise you? Come back in 8 hours with 7 real, and I'll give you your cursed die. Maybe you have some other ideas for dice? A star that fell from the firmament? Those cost more than 7 real. Are you sure? Yes, you definitely have the proper attitude. How about a pair of 100-sided dice, made of ivory and inlaid with lodestone, a naturally occurring magnet, to complement your magnetic personality?
Pieces of lodestone were used as the first magnetic compasses, from which they derived their other name, coarse stones.
10 real, and I can get these ready in 8 hours. It's true, magnetic dice are definitely different. When rolled together, the magnetic fields of the pips interact with each other to push and pull on each other as they're rolled, just like all magnetic personalities do. Maybe you have some other ideas for dice? I think I have just the right one for you.
Police colors.
You're a police officer, right? Here, catch. They're a gift from me.
A beautiful woman tossing you a gift. Whatever you do, don't overthink it. You overthink it. Your hands can't agree what to do, and the 2 dice drop to the floor and scatter in opposite directions, like pearls from a broken string. The blue one disappears down the pit in the center of the room.
Ah, down the drain, like your career. I apologize, officer. That comment was unnecessary. That one is made of bloodstone with a lapis lazuli inlay. The other one was the inverse. They were a set, you see, but now the set is broken. It's a shame. They might have brought you luck. You definitely need luck in Martinez.
Is she pitying you? Good God, she's pitying.
Now, was there anything else? Of course. Tell me what you have in mind. Ah, yeah, the Wirral.
Ice, death.
I'm thinking something great. See you in 8 hours then. Was there anything else? I'm sorry. I'm a bit overloaded just now, so I can only produce one die per customer. We're inside the chimney of an old central furnace. It's strange, I know. But when I arrived here, all the other rooms were taken, so I had to build myself a makeshift home. Besides, I don't really have to pay any rent here, so that's a plus.
Plaisance was right. There's an entity living in the chimney. You should ask her about the curse.
Creative.
I've heard the stories, but I don't think those stories are true. It's just capitalism. We only hear about tales of success, so it's often surprising to realize how many ventures actually fail. Plaisance, the bookshop lady? I've heard that her business is doing rather well. Have the energies spared her somehow? All right. But it's not just the bookstore that's still up and running. What about the whirling in racks? Some people say it's part of the building complex. And then there is me. I've been here for 14 years, selling novelty dice to role-playing enthusiasts. Not exactly a million-real business idea, yet somehow I've...
It's because she's in cahoots with the demons.
Malignant entity? What does that even mean? Some kind of sorceress? What about you, officer? Do you...
The jig is up. The she-demon knows you've uncovered her true identity. Time has come to face the source. Fear not, for the forces of the universe are supporting you in this psychic quest.
So I'm the Grand Dragon in the cave. Might I ask what supports this claim? I am responsible for making sound business decisions, yes. But not. Well, if you ever find a way to explain all those inconsistencies in the curse, then let me know.
Plaisance needs to hear about this. Perhaps if you combine your psychic energies, you will make sense of the city. The bookstore closes starting 2100. You'll have to do that tomorrow.
More or less. Are you interested in anyone specific?
Oh, quite a lot of them spring to mind.
Yes, I think it was called Androgynous Orlando or something similar. They weren't a big hit around here. Turns out that working class men don't...
You wouldn't like it either. The others would laugh at you. A bit of experimenting every now and then isn't. It's not about the haircut. It's about the confidence.
I guess it just wasn't the time yet. It wasn't merely a gym, it was Artemitep's boxing club, a community project created to steer at-risk youth away from drugs and crime. It didn't. If anything, it made the youth situation in Martinez even worse. At some point, someone started a rumor that the punching bag downstairs was full of...
You should have known it. It's not really full of that. No one would store their drugs like that.
Eventually, the coalition took away the funding and the club went bankrupt. This was a few years ago. It's gotten much more peaceful around the plaza ever since. Oh, this one's a mess. There used to be a company that promised to repair windows. Turns out, the business was actually set up as a front for an illicit group that was producing snuff milias.
What's a snuff milieu? Trust me, you don't want to know.
And they never cleaned up the debris either. Now it's just littering the hallway and I have no idea how to get rid of it on my own. It's a sub-rosa radio station that broadcasts real murders with real victims. Some people pay good money to get off on it.
What does she mean, to get off on it?
Don't worry, the ICP has a separate division that deals exclusively with unlicensed sub-roses. This isn't our problem.
Good luck with that. It's not easy catching those perpetrators. You mean Mr. Fabron, the taxidermist? No, he mostly just did drugs.
But what drugs exactly?
He got high on some weird taxidermy chemicals. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Eventually, they caused him to lose control of his bladder. The smell was awful.
Even you can probably do better than that.
There used to be a fashion atelier here, but I have forgotten the head designer's name. They were doing well for a couple of years, until the insect rights activists came. The atelier produced a certain collection that used chitin among the materials. Apparently chitin is made in the Occident, where it's extracted from beetle wing. And you know how all kinds of political movements are big in the Occident. The activists shut down the biggest chitin supplier, which of course caused the price to skyrocket. And, naturally, all the most fashionable tastemakers refused to be seen in chitin from then on. The atelier went bankrupt before they could finish the collection. Really? Anyway. They were made by a company called Slipstream. After they pivoted from making rotor blades to skis, their chief executive took off on a vacation with all their money. Honestly, I think it's quite funny. I think he's still sending out holiday transmissions from Tulula or Tiumotiri or Hashtkor or wherever he is. The usual, I imagine. That he's been thinking up all kinds of new business plans and can't wait to get started on them just as soon as he returns.
Men like that are a curse.
Sure, but Slipstream is history now. All their remaining assets got seized by the bailiffs in 47. I have no idea why those skis and blades are still lying around in the house.
They were just the props. Why return them?
Fortress Accident, the radio game studio. They were an interesting bunch. We talked about role-playing systems every now and then. Once, I even saw two of them get into fisticuffs over Wirral. They certainly took their work very seriously, even if they seemed to be chronically liberal with their schedules. The usual, they ran out of money and couldn't get the project done on time. Well, I did hear them talking at times. They seemed to believe they were historical individuals on some grand quest. Yes, but when the money started to run out, they just began to complain a lot about capitalism. You know, how the markets are rigged to keep out new businesses and so on. In the end, they just didn't get it done. They didn't have enough willpower to produce something truly historic and to show up to work on time.
She's right. Showing up to work on time is important. Showing up to work on time is hard. No, scratch that. Showing up to work at all is difficult, especially if you've been drinking.
Not the wisest decision. You would have lost all your savings.
The result is 1 on a 20-sided die. The dice is black and filled with little silvery flakes, like snowfall.
Anything else? Oh boy, the fabled Revachol ICT. You're in for a treat here. The place was owned by two guys who had some rather innovative ideas about marketing. The bear was one of them. Now ask me about their other.
Indeed. What were the other ideas?
There was really just one. And it involved picking out the prettiest girls in the neighborhood and paying them 20 cents per hour to man the booth. And by man the booth, I mean slump behind the counter with a face that could maim you if you ever dared to disturb their bored magazine browsing.
Fritte does the same thing.
Employing silky teenage girls is a widespread practice, yes. Unfortunately, they always come in packs. I'm talking about acne-ridden girlfriends and gorilla-like boyfriends loitering near the shop. At least that's what happened with Revachol ICT. And they already had the bear. The bear. Of course not. The bear was terrifying. No one wants ice cream guarded by a hostile apex predator. To make matters worse, The fridge didn't work too well either, and half the ice cream came out malformed and partially melted. Eventually, Ravishore Ice City lost the price war to its rival, Glace 5000. Glace 5000 sold caramel sundaes for only 5 cents a piece, out of regular fridges. The taxidermist who made it said it was his vision beast. He said he met his vision beast while high on desiccants. He called it Megatherion.
Sounds cool. Scary, but cool.
It's an imaginary beast that guides you through life by telling you to do more drugs, mostly.
A wise and noble beast, guiding you toward the land where the streets are paved with drugs.
Very good. You shouldn't do them. You're a police officer after all. Anyway, now you know the story of the fallen ice cream empire.
Outside it's light. Light scatters from the low-hanging cloud cover. There's always the threat of snow.
Anything else? Another failed business, perhaps? I've been here for a long time. Good. I hope it clarified things a bit. What else? I'm listening. Good. I hope it clarified things a bit. What else?
You feel nothing. If anything, it's uncomfortably warm in here. She has begun to idly clean one of her carving tools with a dirty kerchief. Apricot chewing gum scented one. August 2nd, early late summer. You're getting off the streetcar in Le Jardin, east of the river. Her father and mother are middle class. The nylon of her little jacket rustles next to you in the dark like autumn leaves. Her heels click on the pavement. You're walking up to the gate in front of her parents' house. She takes out her chewing gum and you kiss her. A feeling like electricity flows through your whole body. Immediately,